We come together today for the last word in the lectionary cycle. This is lectionary cycle C, if you're watching. We come to hear Christ's lasting word for us. It is a word of forgiveness. It is a word of promise. Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Jesus did not address this final word to a squeaky clean person. He tailored this word for the pleading criminal hanging on the cross next to him. The Spirit works a permanent impression into our lives as we ourselves ponder what it means to give glory and honor to Christ our King, who comes to bring us forgiveness and peace as well. We might ask today, just how is Christ our King? What sort of king is he? How did and does and will he rule? Paul says in Colossians that through Christ all things were created. In Christ all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. Through Christ God came to make peace by the blood of the cross for all times, visible and invisible, animate and inanimate, moving and stationary, human beings and animals, insects and wild onions. In Colossians it says that Christ holds all things together. Even as we confess this, we must say that Christ is no ordinary king. He demonstrates his power through suffering, through forgiveness, by entering the uttermost depths of our strained and sinful condition. He lives and dies a politics as unusual, a reign in suffering rather than a rule of glory. So what kind of ruler is this Jesus? Well, we get a hint at the beginning of his earthly life. Did he come out of Mary's womb and into a peachy palace? No. He began his rule in swaddling rags, not flame retardant and fluffy buntings lined with lace. And as we read in today's gospel text, Jesus died with a crown of thorns on his head. That's the kind of thing he wore. He was offered cheap wine in his moment of dying thirst. He was buried in a borrowed tomb. Jesus, the Messiah, came into this world and embraced a nasty death without a silver spoon in his mouth. His was a reign of downward mobility into human weakness, poverty, and sorrow. And if his rule was to involve entry into human weakness, poverty, and sorrow, Jesus revealed this in the way in which he dared to be in touch with people of all walks of life. So much so that the religious authorities accused him of being too in touch with the people, especially those categorical sinners and rejects on the fringe. Jesus begins his ministry calling disciples sinners, boisterous fools, political fanatics, and embezzlers. He required no resumes. He administered no drug testing as a prerequisite for receiving his help. He started with the disciples right where they were and worked from there. Jesus deliberately dined with prostitutes, crooks, crabby people, and cranky children. And to top it all off, we read in the crucifixion today that this odd Messiah died in the company of outlaws. One on his left and one on his right. Yes, in his own dying hour, Jesus continues to seek and save the lost. Christ is also an unusual ruler because, unlike all present rulers, he never fell for the quick fix. For all people to have the potential for new life, all must enter a shared death with this Messiah. Oh, the soldiers mocked Jesus at the cross and dared him to opt for the easy street, the easy reign. If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself, prove yourself, come down off the cross. One of the outlaws hanging there beside Jesus verbalized a similar statement. Are you not the Messiah, a great ruler? Save your neck and mine. But Jesus gritted his teeth and stayed the course of his Father's will. He would not pass the cup of suffering. The only ultimate solution, the only universal solution, the only sure and lasting solution would come for the world through his deliberate decision to die a slow, painful, humiliating, and cursing death. And by his wounds, you are healed. By his wounds, I am healed. No quick fix here. And now, above all the discussion about what kind of king we have in Jesus, we confess something else. Unlike human politicians who leave office at the mercy of the press or other kinds of reasons, unlike our present rulers who leave office with the historians getting the last word, Jesus Christ utters to us a commanding and lasting word that surpasses all last words and closing statements. No one can take this last word out of his mouth. This final word never fades, never loses its edge, neither death nor hell, nothing, and no one can ratify a term limit for this lasting, ruling word. And what is this effective and compelling word? Jesus addresses it straight to the second outlaw on the cross beside him. Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. To the naked criminal, and to each and every one of us, comes this magnificent promise of Christ our King. Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. The last word drives deep into the heart. Where paradise is, we do not know. What paradise will look like when we get there, we do not know. What we will look like with the resurrection of the flesh, we don't have a clue yet. But this we know for sure. Paradise is with Christ our King. God will not forsake us in our moment of need. God will meet us in every circumstance of torment and joy. God will not forget us even at the point of death. As baptized people of God, we die with Christ as Christ died for our sake and for the sake of the whole groaning creation. That includes everything. The enduring word is that his death and subsequent resurrection is an act of victory for us. The last word is that Christ's kingdom will have no end. The comforting word is that Christ's eternal reign has no term limits. Thanks be to God.